thank you all for joining us. I am using the microphone for the benefit of those who will be watching this through our recording and who aren't here today. I know that I don't need it, but it will help with the recording. So, welcome. We thought a lot about how we wanted to organize this particular parent coffee. And as we are in the throes of course selection, and I know many of you are having meetings with the counselors and with the IB coordinator or AP coordinator, and as university acceptances continue to roll in for our students, and many of whom will have to make decisions by May 1st about what their intentions are, we thought today would be a good opportunity to sort of lift the screen, if you will, and give you more insight into the university application process in the United States. And we're very, very fortunate to have Jane Lowry as a member of our counseling team. She doesn't like when I say this, but I knew of Jane Lowry before I knew of ACS. That's the reputation that she has among international schools, and perhaps more importantly, around American universities. And so when I was making the decision about whether I would become a member of this community, I remember someone saying, don't miss the opportunity to learn from Jane. So I
hate Jeff to say that.
No, Peter said that. And so it has been a real delight for me to expand and refine my own knowledge about the university admission process with Jane, and I'm delighted to be able to offer her and her wisdom to you this morning. So today we're just going to take you through sort of behind the curtain what goes on in the United States. It is different in other systems, but we will focus on the United States today, and let her share some knowledge to hopefully alleviate some anxiety that you might have about the process, perhaps reassure you, and you might even leave with a few more questions, and that's okay too. My last thought would be to say to you that the university admissions process has changed tremendously since we were in university. So your experiences, although they might be very fresh in your mind, are actually quite dated at this point. And there is an ever-changing landscape around the admissions process. And so the work that our counselors do in staying abreast of all of these changes is paramount. And so to provide this opportunity with you this morning, we hope it's helpful and will sort of refresh your knowledge. All right? So without further ado, Ms. Lowry.
I do get embarrassed when people say that. It's actually because I've been doing it so long. There's a lot of people out there that know me. I want to take 1 minute and go through what the counselors had initially planned for our coffee before Amy approached us about doing another topic. We wanted to go over very quickly registration for all grades, because this is the thing on everybody's mind, and it's buzzing with the kids, it's buzzing with the teachers, hopefully it's buzzing at home with you guys with the kids. But bottom line is a few things. We have talked to every grade level, 8th grade through 11th grade, about the process. We've given out the forms. If they've lost the forms, they can come and get another form. We're having individual meetings right now with the 10th graders and their parents. That's where Ms. McDade is coming in from right now, and where Mr. Abraham will be here in just a few minutes from. The key to remember this is we would like to have everything done by the last week before spring break. And that's plenty of time, because they will have basically a month to do this. It's not like we sprung it on them. They know they're registering for classes about this time of year. But the idea is, during that week, they will be putting their selections into the computer themselves, and we'll be taking up the forms, so we'll have that as kind of background in case we need to make some other adjustments. But bottom line is, all of this is going to happen between now and spring break. If there's any questions from you or from the kids, make sure that they do come by the counselors and talk with them. One big key is the program of studies. I can't emphasize how much information is in there and how important it is to use that as the baseline. Because even this morning, I was talking with a student, and they looked at me and said, well, what do you do in that course? And I pulled out a program of studies and said, read it. Because they've got to read the course description so they know what it is. Because there have been some changes, even courses that sound familiar or sound similar to this year, there have been changes. But that's all we're going to do about the registration. Again, between now and spring break, we want it all done so we can focus on other things afterwards. Now, what we're going to talk about today is a university application to the U.S. Now, you might think, other than me being older than dirt and having done this for a long time, why do I actually have any type of credential to be able to lead you through this process? Well, first of all, we just got through doing a meeting with the teachers, and I did what was called the Teachers Teach the Teachers about this topic, taking the teachers through that so they can actually see what the application process looks like. And again, hopefully to demystify the process, to take the worry out of it and take the panic out of it. It's not that mysterious, but it is if you don't know what the parts are. Over the years, and I mean years, I have spent time in university admissions offices, anywhere from a week to a couple weeks to reading over a period of months for the university admissions office, where I have been in the offices or attached to the offices, reading applications and making the decision. If you look, there's about 14 or 15 schools up there. Every one of them has something different about theirs. So when you ask about university admissions in the U.S., we will all start the answer with, it depends. Because there's 4,000 schools and there's 4,000 different ways of doing this. So as you look at these, make sure that you think in terms of, we're talking generic and we're talking in general. Now, one myth I want to address right now and first off. There's an urban legend that university admissions people read these in less than 5 minutes and make a decision. They don't. When I hand you this application, you're going to see there's no way you'll get through the first 2 pages in 5 minutes. And if they're reading holistically, they are making a commitment to read the entire application. I would say the average will take anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes for the first time it's read, and then later you get better. Most university admissions people will take quite a while, at least 20 minutes if not longer, on every application, depending on how much is being offered within the application. Now, application parts. There's certain things that are quantifiable, certain things that are lists, certain things that are documented. And that's sort of the, straight up stuff. It's the grades, the type of program, the rigor of the program. And that's what we're able to tell them. Test scores, list of achievements, what they have been awarded honors for, and different things like that. And of course, the activities they've taken. That's quantifiable, what you have done, okay? And then it's what I call the squishy bits. The things that are not actually quantifiable. They're much more subjective. And that's a student's essays, that's the letters of recommendation, interviews, and also things like portfolios and auditions. All of these things are much more up to the student and much more up to the university what they're looking for. And there's a couple of extra things. One is a school profile. You guys have seen that before. We've given that as kind of a talking point, and it's on our website if you want to see our profile. And also interview notes. If they are asking for an interview, it's rarely a requirement, but if they ask for an interview, then whatever that interview notes would be, okay? So these are the parts of the application. Now, what do they do with them once they get them into the office? Okay, there's a couple kinds of reading. One type of reading is what I already mentioned called holistic, where they take all this into account. All the quantifiable things, all the squishy bits, and all the other tidbits. They look at all of it and then make a decision. Now there is also something called the quantitative style of admissions, and this is where you might find in some of the larger state institutions when they rely very heavily on a grade and a test score. And they're not asking for essays, and they're not asking for recommendations, they're not asking for all this other stuff. They're not even asking for activities in some cases. Okay, they're looking at just numbers, okay? our kids are not applying to those schools that much. They're not looking towards that much. And then there's kind of some schools that are in the middle of that, but right now let's pretend it's one side or the other. There's also the decision-making process, whether the individual readers are making the decision or whether it is within a committee. In other words, we read the application and then we all sit down as a committee and we make the decision as a group. Now, that usually is a smaller liberal arts colleges. With UCLA with 115,000 applications, they're not going to sit down in a committee on every application. So you have to look at how many applications there are and the logistics involved. Other things, legacy, whether you have a long-term connection with that university and how active you have been within that university since your graduation and how that impacts your kid. It's not a guaranteed admissions, but it is a factor that many universities consider. Sometimes financial aid. For many of the US universities, there's a limited amount of funding for international students, and that could impact whether they're admitted or not. But again, that's not the deciding factor. Take that out as the deciding factor. And then other special things, athletics, talents, just being international. Whether you're a US citizen or international student or international passport holder, sometimes that's an interesting thing and they're looking for that, so that gives you a little boost. But again, all these factors are going into the application. Sorry, joking. Now, here's an oversimplification of the process. But again, this first reader will take the application and will be a nitpicker. They will be looking at this application to make sure they have all the information they need. Do they have the test scores they need? Do they have all the recommendations they need? Do they have the essays in there? Is everything in there so that they can make the evaluation? Now this reader takes a little longer because they want to make sure everything is there. They may stop at one point and send an email to a counselor, say, hey, where's the school report or where's the transcript? They may take a minute and contact the student and say, your application doesn't look complete, your test scores aren't in, can you contact the testing organization? So again, the first reader sometimes doesn't get all the way through the application the first time. Once that reader reads and makes their decision, it's passed on often to a second reader. Second reader does not know what first reader said. Second reader reads completely independently, but as a second reader, you know everything's there. So you just dive in and read. Okay? As you're diving in and reading, you make your decision. Now from there, it could go one of a couple of different ways. Sometimes, if Penny and I are both readers, I've read it first and I've said admit, she's read it second and said admit, that's going to go to our dean, and our dean's going to say, both of my readers have said admit, we'll go with admit for now. If she says admit and I say deny, then they're going to look at it again, critical eyes, to see kind of a tiebreaker, but don't think of it as that as much as it is. Let me see what they're seeing as different things. And they may come back and say, Penny, you said admit, Jane, you said did not admit. Why are you reading it differently? What do you see differently? Or for the universities that go into committee, this may go into committee at this point. Okay? I'm making up the statistic. This is not accurate. But I'll say 90% of the universities will have at least 2 sets of eyes on every application. For us, in the international setting, most of the time, the first set of eyes on that application is the representative who comes to this campus. Many times, they are the first set of eyes, or at least one of the people that read the application, because they know our school, and that's an important factor. Okay? Now, keep running. Okay, after we got all the admits, we got all the denies, we got everything going on. Now it goes to the dean or the vice provost or whoever's in charge of the final decisions, and they craft the class. And all of these things go into that. Sometimes it's gender balance, sometimes it's, sometimes it's gender balance, sometimes it is about something they need on the university, something they want to increase the population of students from the Middle East, they want to increase different specialty groups, whatever. Guys, we're going to need to share. I did, in the idea of saving trees, I would like for you guys to kind of work as a group of two, if you don't mind. Play nice, okay? I did not want to take a whole lot of paper, but I knew it was going to be a pretty good size group. So 1 per 2. All right. Again, managing yield is a big thing. I want to admit students that I think are going to come. That's a big thing in the management of an admissions office. I want to admit people that are going to come. Now, what I want you to do is take a few minutes and kind of look at this application. This is an actual application. It has been modified to be one that is sort of a generic one, but this is an actual application. I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. Ignore the dates because it's a couple of years old. And for the SAT scores, pretend that it's just the verbal, the English and the math. Ignore the writing. Okay? Just take a minute and kind of glance through it, get some ideas on the general first thing of it. I'll give you a couple minutes on that. Yeah, everybody has the same application. Are you seeing anything that's confusing? Seeing anything that you need to ask a question about at this point? Are you seeing anything that you would like to know more about? Christina's handing out something now that is kind of a profile of the university, because you're going to read this application from the standpoint of a particular university. Yes?
This is on the citizenship status. It says other non-U.S. Does one really have to state nationality?
Yes, they need to state their nationality because the university needs to know whether they need to get a visa or not. Okay, and it says down below, Jordan. If your student has a U.S. passport, always put that one down because that is an easier category as far as visa issues. You don't have to go through the whole visa process. If you have 2, put them both down. Yes, obviously, put them both down. And whether it is U.S. and something else or something else and something else, put down the passports that your student holds. Any other questions? This is what a common application looks like. Right now, most everybody is reading them on the screen, so this is how it would look on the screen. Okay, I think, is there any other information you need? I want to take just a minute and talk about College Board University. That is a single piece of paper I gave to you. You're now reading for a research institution. It is a mid-sized university, and it has I think it's 5 different undergraduate colleges. It has a lot of things going on campus. And what they would like to do is bring in a diverse population. And you can see at the bottom, it talks about the admission status, what the middle 50% of admitted students are for their SAT scores, and what the admissions rate is. They're saying that they had 1,600 applications. They accepted 29% of those, and then they enrolled a third of the ones they accepted. And that's kind of a typical thing with the yield. They're also talking about GPAs and different things like that. Okay, got an idea of the university? Take a minute and glance at the profile. Got an idea of what you want to bring in a great freshman class. You want to make sure that this freshman class is going to be a great group of young people on your campus. So do you know what you're looking for? Does this change in any way what you're looking at in the university, in the application? Okay. I ask that you read, and if as if you're going to admit, deny, wait list. I'm going to ask you not to write on the application. If you need a piece of paper, here's some paper. We have plenty of paper to write. Now, what is wait list? Can anybody tell me what wait list means?
And you know, you're neither accepted nor denied if the spot opens up.
Okay, but you are accepted.
Oh, really?
You had met the admissions criteria. There's just not a spot.
Oh, okay.
Wait list is like an admissions on hold.
But it's hard to get off of that.
It is, because many universities, okay, think in terms of the yield. This university had a certain number of admissions to bring in a class of 1,500. They always want to have the right amount in September. They want to have the right number of students in the seats in September. Some universities very rarely take somebody off wait list. Some take regularly off the wait list. Every year we have 1 or 2 kids come off wait list. Wait list means admitted, but you want to make sure that you got all the ones you really want for all the other reasons. And if there's a space later, you might take them. Okay? Admit, deny, or wait list. There's another category, admit with scholarship. Okay, now read and make a decision. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to read. And read details. Read the letters. Read the essays. Read for details. You're working together, talking over with your partners of what you're seeing and what you're reading. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. No, if I knew the counselor, I would probably write and say, did you make a mistake here? There's another big disconnect. Like some teachers. That's a good catch.
Do they have ACT scores on?
It may be, as you look at this, okay, you may be looking at what you did earlier on.
So they kind of have some general information.
That's part of their
Yeah.
The teachers and
courses in this freshman year, in courses in this degree year was the a couple in this junior year. So is that a light load for students there? It could be.
If you have any questions, let us know. We're all here. We can all help.
Got questions? Ask Christina and Phil also. Yes, Phil.
The last teacher recommendation is at this one. I don't even know why.
So you should write that down. Like, write that down as one of the things that you might consider in their mission card, for sure. Yeah.
But it's so exciting.
Depends. It depends on the kids makes the decision on who they select for their letters of rec. So, but I would totally write that down. It's a really good point to put I would say that's a really good question for discussion, and we can compare it to what we do here.
So they don't see it where they just scroll through like, this is just one recommendation. Yeah, it's a little, it's too much.
As you're reading, if you have questions, ask Phil or Christine or I, or just hold them for the general thing. Some of you are already making some observations of inconsistencies, and you may want to bring that up as we're doing the final admit, deny waivers.
And we don't. You good? Okay. All right. Yes, you have questions? Are you? I'm gonna ask Jen. No, this is actually from workshop. And it was a student's, just a real application, just changed.
Whatever.
Yeah, there's actually, so we're gonna be doing
Universities that don't
and you can pretend to be it's also a good one that like demystifies it. Yep.
Oh, this is great.
No, that's asking what is, what's the minimum passing mark for the school. Yeah, so it's not saying you got to be saying in order to get credit, and to have any other students. Yeah. That would be in this one. Yeah, that would be in the middle. That gives you an idea where, if you're looking at those statistics, it's a holistic review, so you take into account for AP it's 1 through 5. They don't have so the student
And not so much. They'll look at our profile and they'll look at how last year's class did and what this year's class looks like, and they will weigh everything in perspective of that, of what our school is. They're not going to compare our school to another school because every school's a little bit different.
Not comparing, but there's just some point we have.
I don't think so. No.
Let's kind of pull together now and tell me some of the things you noticed in there, some of the observations. You had a question or an observation.
Oh, the last teacher recommendation was not stellar. It was actually more controversial and damaging.
Okay, the starting of the last teacher recommendation was not necessarily a good introduction. Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay. In that middle of the second paragraph, you talked about a controversial thing and where the kid really pulled it out. What did it say at the last sentence?
I don't know the last sentence, but he listened and he was responsive to constructive criticism.
Right, he listened and responsive to constructive
And he made
criticism.
a lasting change.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what was the last sentence in that recommendation? Highest recommendation he can give or whatever. Go back and look at his check boxes. You know, the form beforehand. Okay, look at the check boxes and what does it say? Well, and when it says the overall recommendation, it says excellent. It doesn't say the highest.
Yeah.
A little inconsistent there. We try to encourage everybody to be consistent about things, okay? If you look also, there's a couple of them down in the above average range. It's not bad, but notice which two those are. Respect accorded by faculty, and I forgot the other, concern for others.
Yes, yes, we did notice that.
Okay? What else? Any other observations in general? You had one, didn't you? Okay, was that his essay?
Yeah, his personal essay, I like it, that the last part that he actually admitted that he did not accomplish what he needed to do, so there is some room for progress.
Okay, so in his essay, personal statement, he admits that, or his essay, he admits that he hasn't accomplished everything he wants, and he wants to continue on working. What else? Any other observations? Yes? Yeah, I'm going to give you this instead of me repeating it. Makes more sense.
I didn't do the most rigorous study.
Okay, there's also seems to be kind of not an inconsistency, but just a question that I would probably ask. The counselor put his course of study was less demanding, but he does have some APs, has 2 in his junior year and 3 in his senior year. Now, what I would probably do is go back to prior knowledge about this school and say, how many AP courses do the students usually take throughout their time here? Because in the school report, hang on, about halfway down, it says that they have 19 APs offered and that there's no limit on how many they can take. Now, what that tells is something about he could have bumped it up a bit. But maybe he's doing what he wants to do and everything like that. That might be a question that I would try to delve into as a reader. Is this what I usually see from Imperial Academy? Imperial Academy might have more than one application coming in. Is this something I want to cross-reference and see is that a mistake? And do I need to write to the counselor and say, hey, Freddie, is this a mistake, or is he really not doing a demanding program? Again, first reader might catch that. Okay, anything else? Is it hard?
He seems to want to be an engineer, but it looks to me like more of a liberal arts company.
He says engineering, but all of his activities seem to point to something more humanities, social sciences, political science based. Good catch. But if I'm not admitting to a major, in the US you're often admitted to the university, so that might not be a deciding factor. If he were applying to the School of Engineering and my School of Engineering had a different admissions requirements, then that might make a difference. Example, Duke University has 2 different. They have the College of Arts and Sciences, and they have their School of Engineering, which I forgot the name of.
UCLA is the same.
UCLA, they do need certain things for the engineering students that they don't need for the other students.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on the university. Okay? Any other questions? Any other points of discussion? Okay? They have basically all the information. I personally am not a fan of sending the grades like that, a page for each one. I kind of like a transcript. What did you notice about his grades?
He didn't do well.
9th grade, not so good. 10th grade, a little better. 11th grade, really good. What about 12th grade?
Yeah.
Went down a little bit in 12th grade. Okay, is that a cause for concern?
Maybe.
Okay, again, it depends on how you're reading the application. Hang on, let me look at my own notes here. Yes?
I have a question. Like when you said that they get accepted to the college, it doesn't matter what they want to study, or they have to indicate what they want, and according to the grades or they will be accepted.
It depends. I hate to say that. It does depend on the university. If I'm applying to a college of arts, a liberal arts college, it doesn't matter what you want to study. They assume you're going to change anyway. So they're just asking probably to assign your first advisor. If you're applying to a larger university and it's compartmentalized, and each college in that university has different admissions requirements, and applying to engineering is different from applying to College of Arts and Sciences, and is different than applying to the College of Business, then it might make a difference. Because applying to the College of Arts and Science doesn't automatically mean that in a year you can go to engineering. You still have to meet the prerequisites for engineering. And a lot of kids think, well, if I get into this school in liberal arts, then I can immediately change. No, you still have to meet the requirements. Okay? Again, one of the things, he did put a page that was kind of a resume in there, but it was no new information. It didn't help. It just took time to read to see, oh yeah, he's got that everywhere else, so why bother? Okay? Remember, university admissions people are very efficient in their reading. They don't want to read the same thing twice. They don't want the same thing to be repeated in every letter of recommendation, because they want something different. And that's why we encourage a student to get a math science teacher and a humanities teachers, because what you're doing in your math science classes is different than your humanities classes. And even if you're applying to engineering, they want to know how you're going to do in other classes. Okay, so that's a very important thing to be thinking about when you're thinking about teacher recs. Okay. Any other questions about this? Yes?
It's just like came to my mind that this kid doesn't make it hard for the admissions officer to admit him, but is this the right fit for the kid to this school? Because this seems to be, as he said, liberal arts college, the core is.
Well, this school has several colleges, so.
I know, and the largest is in arts and sciences.
But he said political science too.
Say it again?
He said political science of his interest and engineering.
Yeah.
So wouldn't the liberal arts fit for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at his classes, mostly it's big on sciences, calculus, biology, chemistry, all of those strong. That is his strength. But then the school itself is big on, is a liberal arts school.
No, the university is not just liberal arts. They have 5 undergraduate colleges.
But its core is liberal arts, it's the strongest.
There's the core of liberal arts.
Well, okay, yeah, the core is, but again, we're not admitting to the major. Would this student, does this student have the background to be successful at this university based on the classes he has taken? Yes, he's taken strong maths and sciences, but he's also taken economics and some other things, right? So he's taken a rigorous program, okay? When you started talking about fit, I thought you were talking about fit within the community itself. Somebody else had their hand up, yeah.
Just about the teacher recommendations in general. Do they go in blind into the kid's file, or do the kids' counselors see them?
At this school, counselors see them and read them. Some schools, that's not the case. So we do kind of do a check to make sure that they are saying what they need to say.
Yes.
And we also do a lot of work with the teachers before, where we tell them what they need to be saying. Not specific about the kid, but how to write a recommendation that's going to be productive for the kid. Okay, we do this every year and review them. Yeah.
I'll be your cop.
So do you review essays of kids who are applying to one of the 14 schools that you've sat in on the committee?
Sure.
To sort of, okay, so for example, the counselors will say, hey, I have a student applying to UC Davis, you sat there, will you take a look and make suggestions?
Not specifically that, as much as, let me have.
I do offer time for kids applying to the UCs, because the UC application is a common UC application. And they have a very specific set of questions. They have 8 prompts, and they ask them to do 4. And I will work with the students, any students, my students are their students, but they know just as much as I do about this, of how to maximize the information that's going to the university in those 4 prompts. Nothing is worse than having 4 prompts and having this kid talk about the same thing 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, poke me in an eye with a sharp stick, you know, it doesn't help. I tell them to take 4 very different prompts that we're going to tell 4 very different things about you. okay? We do have time that we talk about the personal statements in general, and we do have universities who will read them for them, or give them a read of the drafts. And that's something we've added a couple of years ago. When the universities are here and they visit the kids during lunchtime, we ply them with chips and salsa and ask them to stay after school, and then they read the essays. And then what they're able to do, now we don't let, if I'm applying to your school, I won't let them read that one. But they're all strong schools. They're schools that read applications all the time. So they're reading this essay and giving them feedback from a university desk reading. And the kids have really responded well, and the universities love it.
They really do. It really is like my favorite time of the year, because when we have big groups that come through, they want to come back and read the applications and give feedback. They don't care if the kid is not applying to their school or not. They just really want to make sure that the kid is really showing who they are in that essay. Sometimes we get caught up in trying to give the application essay to everybody, when we really should limit the number of people who read it, and then allow an outside person like a university to read it too, to give that perspective. So,
one of the things about the university, people reading it when they're on campus, if Mr. Abraham reads an application for a kid that he's been working with solidly for 2 years, if the kid leaves something out, he's going to subconsciously fill in the gaps. Okay? If somebody's reading it that doesn't have a background on the kid, the statement may be, hey, what do you mean by that statement? It seems out of context. And then the kid may say, oh my goodness, we need to add I need to add another sentence of explanation. Okay? So what they call cold reads is really good. That's why it's good for me to read one of Christina's or Phil's kids, or it's good for Christina to read one of my kids. If she doesn't know the background on the kid, she's not going to fill in the gaps. See what I mean? But again, we've been taking advantage of them, like I said, ply them with salsa and chips, and they'll do anything for you. Okay? All right. Now, what I want to do is, okay, I want to add one point. Why is it hard to read one application? Why is this not a realistic thing?
It's relative, right?
Yeah, you don't know the other 15,000 applications. So this is a strong applicant. How many would admit this kid? How many would deny this kid? How many would waitlist this kid? In other words, wait and see who else is out there. Okay? That is a little bit different if you have other ones to compare it to. Okay? Now I'm going to put a little promotion in. In April, or maybe May, I'm not really sure, I gotta look at the calendar. I'm going to be offering a full-on mock admissions committee, where you will be reading 4 applications, similar to this one, but not this one. 4, and you'll be making a decision: admit, deny, admit with scholarship, and waitlist. Okay? So you have to make that decision. Now, it is time consuming. I ask you to give a 3-hour block of time. Usually doesn't take that long. But again, you're reading a group of applications and comparing them together. So be watching for that in the digest. I'll tell you when it is. I'll offer it a couple of different times. The ones who did it this fall really loved it. So one of the parents said, everybody should be required to do this. I said, I don't think I'm going to require it. Okay? But again, taking it out of context, you know, is difficult. You don't know who you're comparing it to. You don't know what the institutional priorities are particularly. And again, it's just a little bit out of context. Now, just to let you know, from ACS, what we do to support the kids, to make sure this application is the best it can be. I don't want to read this. You guys can read. But again, the advantages of being here is we're here. And we know your kids, and we know the process, and we know the universities, and we know the best way to help the students, the teachers, and everybody get this communication across. Yeah. The application, to some extent, is a communication. And that's what we want to do, is make sure the communication is clear. But again, we support the research in making good decisions about the applications, and in-depth support in the actual application process. Now, one of the big factors for our kids that's disadvantages, they don't have a broad view of the world of work. They see executives and tops of everything. They don't see entry-level positions of anything. And they don't have a good view of universities in general. They have the big names. So when we tell the kids to talk to every university on campus, and we say, Phil, you need to go talk to this university, and Phil goes,
I don't want to go there.
I don't want to go there. It might have the exact program he wants, but he's not going to walk up this far and say, hi, my name's Phil. I don't know what to ask him. You don't have to ask him anything. These people will talk. They're trained to talk. So again, a lot of it is making sure that you have the information going into the decision of where you're applying.
Can I add something to
Yep.
that? Ms. McDade is our liaison for the university reps, and we've had how many, by the end of the year, we'll have over,
We'll have about 200.
we'll have about 200 different universities from all over the world who
All
come
over.
on campus. And you'd be hard pressed to find that resource at a lot of other schools, especially like even in the U.S. So we encourage students to take advantage of that. Many of the reps that are on campus are the ones that are reading applications. So when you build a relationship with those reps, if you end up applying to those schools, that makes a tremendous difference. And even finding out about that university and what programs they have to offer, even if it's not a place that you're thinking you might go, it gives you a better idea of what to look for when you're applying to colleges, and it helps in that college research process. So do encourage your students to attend those.
And one other small part to that too, with the relationship building that we do with universities, especially when they come here, me and Phil and Jane can all provide examples of when that university rep would contact one of us and ask for clarity in something, or something happened that they might have received an application late. Like I got one this year where something happened, the application came in late, the university person reached out and said, what's up with your kid, so-and-so? I got this late, but they seem really interesting. Can you give me a little bit of background? I was able to give them background. There's been many times with the waitlist situation where because of our relationship with them, they'll ask us further questions about the student. They'll ask us for more detail or give them updated information. They'll reach out to us individually. So we really do work hard to cultivate these relationships. And in the summer times, we present with these people as well. So we are all about the relationship building to help make sure your kid chooses the school that's the right fit for them in the long run.
Okay, just a quick summary. Here at ACS, you've seen these stats before, probably if you've been to another meeting. We talk about where the applications went. The reason we talked about U.S. applications now is because we have a lot of applications that go to the U.S. And last year, 81% of the applications sent from our office went to the U.S. So a lot of kids are doing U.S. and sometimes other schools too. That's why these numbers don't necessarily add up to 100. Yes, sir?
How different is the common application versus the UC application?
How different is the regular application and the UC? Not a lot different in that the UC application is still asking for much the same thing. They just have a different format that it shows up on the computer. The test scores are already filtered out. You only see the top score. They're asking the 4 different essay questions, shorter essay questions, and there's no recommendations involved, and the kids self-report their grades. Okay, that's a big difference.
And if you take multiple SATs or the tests, so you can submit any one, or you need to submit all the tests?
If you are applying it with more than one set of tests, a lot of universities, and I would like to say most, but I don't want to go out on that limb, they want to see all of them. They want to pick and choose the best. The test scores are to support your application. So they want to do the best. And in most cases they do. You've heard the term super score. They're going to pull the highest verbal and the highest math. One of the differences is the University of California system. They pull the highest composite score. And that's what they look at. Okay? Yes?
When the waitlist you, is there a ranking to it?
There's not really a ranking in the wait list. And this is, again, where a lot of times they'll contact the counselor to find out how interested the student is, or are they just kind of hanging out, on the wait list. The wait list may have to do with institutional priorities, who they pick off first. If they're trying to do a gender balance, and they're down for males, which they tend to be, they may pull more males off the wait list. You know, and again, it goes back to the institutional priorities, which was further back in the slides. Yes?
When they're waitlisted, is there anything that the student can do or just wait?
Well, if you're that's a good question. If you're waitlisted, is there anything the student can do? Yes and no. If the university wants additional information, they will tell the student. Can you give us an update of what's happened since mid-year? Is there any additional information? And that's when the kid got a different award, they've played on a championship team, they've done something, you know, they've finished their CAST project and they're proud of it. Those kinds of things can send it in. Many times they'll say, don't send anything, don't send another letter of recommendation, just wait. But the university will be clear about what they want, okay? Sometimes they will say, do you have another recommendation? And the kids run around frantically trying to get another recommendation. Not always a good thing, but, okay? Now, one other thing based on looking at these numbers of where the applications went, this is where the students went. So you see, although 81% of the kids are applying, 81% of the applications went, only 59%, about 60% of the kids are going to the US. That's because they're applying to more than one country, okay? All right, now, in other admissions committees, mock admissions committees with Aziz, and again, Aziz against other students. This is all the different ways that his application was read. Some of them admitted, some of them admitted with scholarship, some denied, and some waitlisted. Again, admissions committees read different ways. And this is usually a group of at least 5 people in a group coming together as a consensus of an admit or not. Okay? So again, the same application may have a different result depending on who they're reading against. Okay? Again, it has to do with, look, this is not a science. This is not precise. Many admissions people say this is an art, not a science. Because they're reading and they're saying, will this be an interesting kid in the dorm? Will this be an interesting kid across the table in the student union eating dinner? Will this be an interesting kid in a discussion group in history class? So they're looking at these factors too, again, which the squishy bits come into play. Anything else?
Can you put figure to squishy bits versus factual?
It depends.
It depends.
It depends.
I wish I could. A lot of it has to do with how the university is reading, because even with UCLA, with as many applications as they have, they really, really value those personal essays. They're called personal insight questions. So the squishy bits are very important and can make a difference between a yes or a no. I wish I could give them.
I'm facing a problem with my daughter, Virginia. She has 2 universities in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot discuss about any other universities. So how can we help them in understanding that having
Always tell her,
so
don't feed her until she puts some more schools on the list. No, actually, what we usually try to do is tell them to start out with about 10 schools. Even if you got those 2 and that's all you want, start out with 10 schools, because you may find some other schools that have things that are appealing also. And I always require my kids to have a list of 10 to start with. And they've got to do positives and negatives and other things like that. But yeah.
Every time I hear someone say you should apply to like 10, or I've heard even people say even more, I mean, the application process seems like it's pretty onerous just in and of itself.
Okay.
So I think like if he has no chance or willingness to go to this school, why would he spend that effort? Because he's got a lot of other.
Okay, I want to clone you. Okay, you got 2 or 3 things in there. Why 10? Why more than 10? Why apply to a school that you know you're not going to get into? There's also kinds of great things in that particular question. We ask students to apply to no more than 10 universities. We really feel like if you've done the research ahead of time and you've made thoughtful choices on where you're applying, 10's plenty. A couple of reach schools, a couple of targets, safety schools, and then some schools kind of in the middle that could go to different ways depending on the squishy bits.
I always say one for the parents, because There's always one.
And you got one for the parents.
You only get one.
Yeah, but that's not just one. I mean, applying for the parents, I think is a
Yes, it is a waste, but, you know, but Leslie, you know that happens, you know.
I mean, I would love.
I went to this school and I want you to apply to this school. The kids going, I don't want to go there.
I think my daughter would be a great fit at my alma mater. She does not want to go. I doubt she will apply, and alas.
Yeah, but again, I think that's a good thing. But again, thinking back to every application takes a chunk of time. Even if you're using the common application, it takes a chunk of time. So you want to make sure that you're budgeting your time well and that you're not spending all your time on applications. You still have classes, you still have activities, you still have sports. You want to make sure that everything comes together in a nice pattern of that senior year.
Can I add to that real quick? I mean, we talk to our juniors about that in our meetings now, and we don't suggest a minimum of 10. We have to convince people to apply to less than 10. And one of my seniors this year, he had a good spread of schools. He applied to 4, and it was a much healthier process for them because even with a common application, you have your common application essay. Many of the schools will have supplementary parts to that where you have to answer questions for that specific school. You don't want to get so caught up in that application process that it starts to detract away from your grades and your activities, which is actually what they're using to evaluate you as a candidate. So that is a really good.
So it's a max 10.
Yeah, it's max 10.
Less than that.
I mean, you could apply to way less than that and still have a healthy spread of schools where some, you know, you're swinging for the fences, but it's your dream school, but you still have a good safety net underneath there too, and you're applying to some schools that you have a high probability where you stack up pretty well according to that middle 50%. And when we meet with the students in this junior year, especially, like we kind of give them ideas for how to research for those schools. But that exactly, like those points are spot on though. You know, you don't want to make this take over the whole process.
Aim for the stars, but don't ignore the clouds, okay? Sometimes the clouds is where you want to be, not the stars. And again, this is sometimes the most difficult conversations we have when the parents are here and the kid wants to be here. So, any other questions? You guys got great questions. Yeah.
Going back to the decision here, I saw a lot of like D is denied, not deferred, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been sitting in a lot of application processes, what are the factors that would make this kid be denied? Because as I look at it, perfect, and then there's about 3 or 4 denial.
Probably just the personality fit with the university. Seeing the other kids, in all the cases, this was against 4 other students in a mock admissions committee, and frankly, he wasn't the best. He was good, but if you're admitting one with scholarship and denying and whatever waitlist, he wasn't the best. You're comparing him to the other ones. Okay, I am going to ask you to leave the applications, please. Yeah. These are actually sort of belong to College Board and they lend them to me, so if you don't mind, just leave it on the chair, that's good.
When should they start preparing for the summer?
Usually what we do is help the students in May. We have a workshop for juniors in May that will start them on some of their applications. Their UK application, the Common application, Coalition application, all of those will be up and available for them in May. We'll start working with them, get an idea about what they need to be doing, and then they have some summertime to do some work on it calmly. When they come back in August, they're pretty well ready to rock and roll.
The other thing that we try to add in with their application work is also some essay work now. The common application questions are already up. We do a workshop with students right around that. And sometimes we use our university partners to also comment on supplemental essay questions and how to go about answering those as well.
Yes.
I know you do lunchtime college visits and stuff like that for kids, but if I remember from last year, do you do a college fair that's on a night?
Well, last year we had a big college fair because we had a conference here where we had about 100 schools on campus, and we did a university fair for that. Usually they're coming here and then visiting other schools in town. If we have a lot of them, we try to do it in a fair type situation. Sometimes during the day, we had one after school at the end of the day on Thursday last week.
That was 19 schools.
17 schools and everything. Sometimes we have evening programs. If it looks like it's going to be a good draw, we don't want to have the universities come and stay in the evening if it's not going to be enough people to talk to them. Sometimes it depends on their schedule. If they say we're in Abu Dhabi but we only have an evening, then we're going to say, okay, come to us and we'll open it up. Christina negotiates with them, can we have an hour for our students only before we open it up to the public? So always be aware of those kinds of timings and stuff. But again, a lot of it has to do with the university and when they're going to be in town. We don't have a single fair because they're coming at different times. They have different timelines for travel. We happen to have quite a few this week and last week because there's an institute in Amman, Jordan next week. And so some of them are on the way to Amman. And so they were here. That's why we had so many last week.
And we'll have a bunch the week after.
Yeah, I have a bunch after that too.
Because
So
the conference is, the conference is from the 14th through the 16th. And they're coming to the UAE right afterwards. And so we already have people booked for that entire week, from large state institutions like University of Cincinnati to smaller schools like Pepperdine. McGill is hosting an evening for admitted students, but they're coming to talk to our students specifically during the lunchtime. So yeah, we kind of fall within their calendar and we try to make it work within our school calendar.
the little pieces of paper that you've been given, International ACAC, that's our professional organization. In the summer, there's a meeting that has about 1,500 high school counselors and university admissions people. We do everything we can to convince them that they want to come to Abu Dhabi. Trust me. And a lot of them do. And a lot of them will come to the table right then and there and say, hey, my travel dates are mid-September, are you there? I'm just like, yeah, come on. But again, a lot of times we are constantly out talking with universities, constantly out in touch with them and saying, come and visit. We want you to see our school. We want you to meet our kids. And that's why it's so important for these kids to talk to the universities. They love our kids. They walk away from these essay reading sessions so excited about our kids. This is a draft essay. This is better than we get as final essays. This is a draft essay. How interesting are these kids? So that's the advantage, is talking to the reps while they're here. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to turn you loose. Thank you for coming. Watch for the mock admissions committee where I can really put you to work and let you make the tough decisions.